I met with my doctor today who had not, her staff did not pass on information to her that was important for her to have. And I followed her directions exactly, but um, it left me having to not get a medication that I needed. And so I compromised. And now here's the problem. It turned out better because that happened. When I solved the problem, it actually turned out better than the way she had wanted it to go. So I'm caught in this place of I don't want to have some huge problem. It's like every time I have a huge problem, it works out better. But can't I just have it go better without the huge problem?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I mean, it's working out great for me, but can't I just have it work out great directly instead of?
Did it have to go all the way to the bottom before it got over the top? It's like,
Yeah,
gee, this
yeah.
could have been so much
Okay, so
easier.
so how would we phrase that? I want it to go better without the huge problem.
Yeah,
Uh, how would you phrase it?
that's a good question because, um, and anyone has a suggestion, it's like
Want to go directly to the solution without all the drama?
it seems, it feels like I need the problem to get so big in order to solve it or something, or to get
Mm-hmm.
it better. Somewhere in that category.
Mm-hmm.
Did either
Mm-hmm.
of the Susans have an idea? I was frozen again. I mean, this. It seems like this happens to a lot of people too.
Yeah. You had something you wanted to say, Susan?
Yeah, Susan.
I saw you unmute yourself. Oh, I can't hear you. Somehow the microphone's not working. So, okay. So Wendy,
Okay,
then,
it's things. It seems like, or it's like things have to go very wrong before they
uh-huh.
go right.
Okay, I like it.
Okay. Very wrong.
Yeah. Okay. And okay. And is that seems to be what's happening? Is that what's bothering you? Things have to go
Well,
very wrong before they
yeah,
go
because
right.
it's like, things could, I would like to think that things could actually go well and me not have to jump through hoops to solve a problem. And then I solve the problem and it's solved better than it would have been if I had just kept doing it the other way. But I,
Mhm.
and I guess that's the fine line there too. If it hadn't become a big problem, I wouldn't have looked for the better way.
Right.
So how
But
can
they
I
should
look for
go well
a
the
better
first
way
time.
without a problem? Can I look for a way for things to go better without the problem, or
Yeah. Yeah. So one way of phrasing it could be something like that things should go well the first time,
yeah, I
or they
like
should go
that.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
without the problem.
And sometimes it's because I'm thinking, well, this is good enough, but something's better, and I'm not moved to look for the better thing until it's a problem. But I'm
Mm.
willing to not have it become bad before I start looking for the better thing. Because like I ended up using a different thing instead. She had me on steroids, and then I ran out, and they wouldn't renew it because of the way it was written. And so I got on all the websites, and then I found that if a person can't take prednisone, steroids, they can take CBD oil, and it has the same effect with no side effects. So in the interim, I got on the CBD oil, and it's like 10 times better. My
Hmm.
condition has improved drastically, there's no reason to go back on the steroids.
Right.
But would
Right.
I have looked for the CBD oil if I had easy access to the steroids?
Right.
That's the kind of slippery place it is. It's like,
Okay. Well, I think we're kind of narrowing down on it. Something like things shouldn't have to go very wrong before they go right.
yeah,
Like that.
I think that'll work.
So is that
Okay.
true?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And can you absolutely know it's true? Things shouldn't have to go very wrong before they go right.
Yes.
Well, how do
Yes.
you
And I
react? What?
see that as an evolution. Yes. Okay. How do I react?
So how do you react when you think things shouldn't have to go very wrong before they go right, and here it is happening again?
So I want to say ahead of time that some of the things that I'm going to say may sound positive, but it's still an irritating thought as I'm having it during those times.
Okay.
Um, I have to take control of my own self. I I I get the feeling that my team is not behind me. Um, I look at it and call it proof that I know better what I need than someone else does, which leads me to then stopping in the past. That has led me to stopping listening to the doctor and doing it myself. Um, and it works. and then if the future is that okay, every time something better comes along, I have to go to almost the bottom and fail before I switch over to the more improved or better for me procedure. Like I'm trying to stick with it, and be consistent and do what I'm told, and then I lose faith in my medical team. I feel like I'm in this alone. That's another one. I'm in this alone. Do that when we're done. Um, they're not listening to me. And then there's a level of gratefulness. I wouldn't have looked for the better way if things hadn't gone wrong, followed immediately by, but why do they have to go so wrong before I look for, or we all find a better way? So
Right. Right.
it just becomes that circle around, and then
So even though it worked out well, how do you look at this whole thing that happened when you're thinking it shouldn't have to go very wrong first before it goes right?
it puts me back thinking that I don't have a team anymore. It's just me,
Mm-hmm.
and the last thing a person says is I'm there for you, and then they're not. So, well, there it goes again. I'm going to be let down by someone I just trusted again. So let it, and I feel like in my body it just feels like deflated. Like I'm just like all the air is out of me, and I'm just laying there flat on the ground like an empty ball.
Mm.
And then I pull myself out of it and say, okay, what do I need to do? And then I solve the problem. And then what I did today, I made an appointment to see my doctor, and I gave her an earful.
Mm-hmm.
and, and she said she didn't know anything about it. Her staff let her down too, and then she scrambled to try to solve the problem. And I told her I've already solved it, and it turned out better. And then she agreed that it turned out better. And so it's like, so what's the next step? And then she took care of the next step. But it's like,
Mm.
okay, it's like, I don't want to have to go through this again. I don't want this to have to go wrong again in order to get the next step each time. And so that's where I
Right.
sit in. It's like, okay, so what's gonna f up next time, and then I have to step in, and it's like, and then I'm on my own again and all that stuff. So
Makes sense. Yeah.
that's when I believe the thought.
Okay. So, who would you be if you didn't believe the thought that things shouldn't have to go very wrong before they go right? If you didn't have that thought.
There's a feeling of I'm kind of responsible for my own self, and I am willing to accept another person's suggestion as an option. And if something doesn't work, I can work it out. I can find some type of resolution so that I'm not victimized by another person unable to help me. And so that's where I would go with it instead. I'm not the victim of another person, a communication failure.
Mm.
That's just one of the, I guess if I went into, it has me think, if I go into situations in my career, we always had a backup plan. If something went wrong, we'd have a plan. This is what we're going to do. And if something doesn't work, we'll have a backup plan. And I have not been making backup plans since I retired from that career, because I just didn't even think about,
Mm.
there's no reason why I can't move forward with the suggestions that are made, but still have a backup plan. And then it probably wouldn't have to go very wrong before I started my backup plan.
Yeah, it's a cool idea.
It's like, oh yeah, good thing I had a plan.
But even if things do go wrong, if you don't have the thought that they shouldn't,
There's a
who would you
plan.
be seeing it that it just did? It had to go very wrong before it went right this time.
Uh,
Who would you be looking at
how is
that
it?
situation that just happened?
How I'm so glad that we do this with each other, because I can't see this when I'm doing it for myself. I would be grateful that I had a backup plan, and then I would do what I did, but in a better state of mind, communicate with my team and say, I'm instituting the backup plan because there's been a breakdown. Let's find it and fix it and move forward. I mean, I'd be on the resolution side of it.
Hmm.
I would also have to give up my feeling that even with a backup plan, that the backup plan is because others have failed me. But I'd
Hmm.
change my reason for the backup plan to be because it's a good idea to have a backup plan.
Yeah.
Just because things, communications could fail, or people could get sick and not show up the next day, so a message doesn't get passed on. I don't know what happened. I don't know why she didn't get the information she needed.
Yeah, it's almost like you're believing I shouldn't have to have a backup plan as well, like
Yeah,
it's
it's almost,
it's very similar.
things
So
shouldn't have
without
to go
this thought,
wrong so that I
right?
would need a backup plan. That I'm masterful at making backup plans, and use them. You got them, you know, if you need them, and if you don't need them, you had it, but you didn't use it. I mean,
Right.
life could just be something that a backup plan's not a bad idea, huh?
So without the thought that things shouldn't have to go very wrong before they go right.
Things things can go the way they go, and if I'm paying attention and I have a backup plan, then there's no feeling of me being let down. There's just, oh, that didn't work. But I know something else that might work, that I can do.
Right.
And it turns out in this
Cool.
case, the backup plan worked better.
So turn the thought around.
Huh.
Things shouldn't have to go very wrong before they go right.
I'm going to start with things shouldn't have to go very right before they go even righter.
Okay,
Throughout the
interesting.
process of something working doesn't mean that I can't be looking for an improvement, a situation where it could have improved. Like this is working, but long term might not be a problem. I think I'll, switch over now before it becomes a crisis,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Like when things are going right is probably the time to be thinking about the backup plans and the next
Yeah,
thing, you know? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Hmm. And in the absence
Things
of
shouldn't
that, things should go very wrong. And
before
then
they
the
go
backup
right.
plan comes in place and then they can go right because and it's also, if things do go wrong, there's the evaluation of what went wrong. There's a learning afforded, the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Like I ended up with a lot more resources than I had before, and I was surprised to find that the CBD oil was actually being offered by the National Institute of Health. That the replacement for steroids is on the website that all doctors go to. At least in the US, probably if it's a national institute. I don't know if that's in other countries, but still, it's like, oh,
So
yeah,
things should have to go very wrong
right.
before they go right.
They should have to go very wrong because people will just, I mean, and I'm included, I will just go along as things aren't working and I won't look for a way to improve it if everything seems to be going fine. But
Exactly.
sometimes we get complacent, or I gotta tell me it's me. I'll get complacent because things are working, and then I'm holding status quo when in fact there's a way better option available for me.
Right. Like
So
you with your team of doctors and health practitioners, they've been they've been really working well for you
yeah,
recently. And
been
then so
amazing.
you kind of relax into that. Okay, I've got my team. And it's not just me. But that doesn't mean you can't stop looking for
Right.
whatever, using your own creativity in addition to whatever they bring to the table.
So
It's
another
like you
turning
sit
on.
on that board too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm part of that. So my mind my mind has to go very wrong before it will go right. I, and I have to look at what could go wrong and then have that, and that will give me a plan. Huh.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
Wow.
it's like those two things don't have to be mutually incompatible. I don't have
Right.
to, like, I can have a team and still be holding responsibility myself for my health and looking for ways for options that maybe even my team isn't seeing. I can
And
do that at the
actually,
same time while I'm trusting them to support me. So yeah,
huh.
it's kind of like I'm thinking in business, like I'm responsible for my accounting, but I
Mhm.
hire an accountant and they do a good job, except for when they don't, but I'm still responsible and I have to make sure the systems are working and there's I'm giving it to them, but not 100%. Like I'm
Right.
also the final say on it.
And there is an expectation of them having an ability. Like I'm not a doctor, so I don't know what a doctor knows. But it is my body and I have the final say in that, like you just said.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or like the method or the approach,
Mhm.
like for accounting, like I may want this to be more automated. I want this system to talk to this. And so I may do the research on what systems will talk, if they'll talk together, right? But I'm still going to let them do the actual putting the accounting in the right place, doing all the numbers and all that.
And ultimately, if they do make an error and you don't catch it, then the agency that manages the taxes is going to catch it, and you're still
It's gonna
responsible
come.
for it.
It's gonna come to me. I'm gonna pay that bill, not them.
Right. Oh, I'm still responsible. It's my body. It's like I
That's
didn't just
right.
give my body over to these people and say, "Here, fix it." Well, I kind of
No.
did, but
Yeah. Well, that's exactly the point here.
exactly. And
Exactly.
they
It's
have
like,
to perform flawlessly. I mean, it's fixing.
yeah,
It's gone from we don't know to yeah, I'm making it. Everything's fine, and it looks
yeah.
like it's staying that way. So
This is like giving them the responsibility, but not just saying, "Okay, I'm done." Like put the camper
yeah,
on remote on cruise control, and then go back and make a sandwich.
self-driving body, right? But I can um, respect their expertise,
Mm,
ask for their input, and in the absence of being able to reach them, activate the backup plan.
that's it.
And then
It's
there's
like
nothing wrong.
know their limitations, right?
Yeah,
They have limitations, but they
there
also have expertise. So use the expertise, work around the limitations,
and still be
and
responsible.
be responsible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm still responsible. I still get to make the final decisions anyway.
Yep.
And then um and sometimes when I have just kind of surrendered to their recommendation, it's come out extremely well. So they're batting really high as far as the success rate's concerned, and their advice is really good. But and sometimes I don't listen to my inner voice that tells me, hey, you know what, maybe that's not going to work, and that would be a good time for me to bring that up rather than wait until it doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And
That these things help to keep it from going too far in one extreme, very wrong before very right. And it may happen anyway, but these are some ways to manage that. Um, but if things do go very wrong before they go right, how is that still not a
it's
terrible thing?
it's the fact that it does go right eventually is what makes it so that it works.
Exactly.
And I even told my doctor. I met with her today, and I told her, I want to start out by letting you know it turned out okay, but now I'm going to tell you
Mm-hmm.
what I did. We need to have better communication. And she was grateful that I told her that there was a breakdown,
Mm.
um, and it was internal in her office. But and also makes me feel as if I just experiencing this gives me some more confidence in my intuition about when I should say something,
Mm-hmm.
because it was a thought at the beginning that there might be something other than a steroid that would be helpful, and I just kind of shoot it off because
Yeah.
and so I can be more responsible for listening to my inner voice and even at least voicing it.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
inner voice also sits on your board of directors,
yeah.
so it has to have a microphone to speak as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So any other turnarounds before we go?
Mm.
Things shouldn't have to go so very wrong before they go right.
Well, my mind shouldn't have to go so wrong before it starts thinking right.
Hmm. What does that mean here for you?
It means that I go right to blaming someone else. Something went wrong, it's not my fault. This is the first thing I hear. And then I try to look for evidence that it wasn't my fault, that it was someone else's fault. And then I'm mad at them. And eventually I come around because I've done enough of the work. But it still goes there
Right.
first. So I'll probably do a
Right.
big workshop on that one
The
too. It's
backup
my
plan.
fault.
The work is the backup plan.
Yeah. I've got pages and pages of, yeah. I can see why you were doing it, the Breakfast Club and everything. It's like, let's knock this stuff out.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, my mind doesn't need to go very wrong before it goes right. and
Yeah.
I can just trust that.
And of course, if it does, no big deal. If my mind goes wrong before it goes right, that is what the work is for.
Yeah.
That's why we have this. And it's kind of the way it works. If the mind didn't go wrong, the
Wouldn't
work
need the
wouldn't
work.
even work. There would be like, oh, everything's great, so
Yeah.
don't
And I'd
need
have
the
to
work.
question that. Everything is great.
Yeah. So, and the thing is, when things go wrong, generally speaking, or with the work, is that's when I learn a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like that's when it starts to I get into another level of understanding whatever system I'm working on when things go wrong.
It it does it's a catalyst to looking for an improvement.
That's right.
And
That's
there
right.
are times, and that is another thing to look at. There are times when it's not broken, don't mess with it.
Right. Right.
But there's always a way to look at something from a better perspective. Yeah. How you implement it, if I just stop taking everything, I am proud of the fact that I said, okay, well, I guess I'm going to look, and I was surprised to see that level of medicine recommending CBD oil.
Yeah.
To me, in that I was kind of like joyous. Here's the establishment saying this is a viable alternative, and in fact, we recommend that you do it. And
Yeah.
so, yeah,
Another thing just in closing on this is the idea of very wrong and right are completely subjective
never.
um, judgments, right? That's what our
Yeah.
mind makes it. Oh, that was very wrong. And now the solution is very right. But if if the mind is really open, then very wrong is not off and very right is not amazing. It just is what
That's
it
just
is.
what is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had a very severe allergic reaction to something that lasted a very long time that I was treating, and I'm past that allergic reaction, but having the allergic reaction, the medication that I took and reacted to still did its job in spite
Hmm.
of the allergic reaction. So it solved the problem it was meant to, and so
Oh,
it didn't do it instead of solving the problem. It did it anyway. So it's like,
yeah.
oh, maybe there's some good things behind the problems that we're complaining about. Maybe not just change it because there's a problem, but really look to see the specific of the problem
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not change the part that is working.
Right.
Right.
Otherwise, we're just labeling the whole thing as very wrong, but actually,
Right.
that very wrong thing may have saved my life,
Yeah,
or that very wrong
and
thing
it
might
was
have.
a tiny part of the whole.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.